All right, fashion brand owners and founders. This video, I'll be covering a strategy we use to scale fashion brands online that from all the fashion clients we work with, and what we advise them to do to keep the growth fast and profitable without incurring unnecessary expenses, right? So this is the strategy. This is what we call the bestseller strategy. And if you're new to what we do, we specialize in scaling fashion brands online. If you want to see the brands we work with, the track record, all the testimonials, results, check out the highlights of our Instagram and the link in our bio. Anyway, so let's dive into the strategy. This is how the strategy works, and I will dive into the nitty-gritty of it. First, we advertise bestsellers. And the more we advertise bestsellers, the more they sell, which is the brand, right? The more they sell, the more profit they make. The more they make, the more they buy. They buy more bestseller inventory, and they also take that profit to improve the bestsellers and expand off their bestsellers. Now, why do we focus on bestsellers? Well, bestsellers already have demand in the market. They're bestsellers because they make up the most amount of orders for the brand. Any fashion brand, go to your Shopify, go to your top products by units sold. Look at your top products. The amount of orders they're responsible for will be night and day compared to the rest of your products, which makes them the best sellers. So if these products already are responsible for all these sales, it only makes sense to double down on that demand and to advertise and get more new customers with it, right? Because we don't want to spread ad spend on products that have no demand. Even if some of the products have some sales, right? It doesn't mean they have demand. We want to know where the demand is. What do customers actually want? They want the best sellers, which is what makes them best sellers in the first place, right? They pretty much define your brand. So it makes no sense to spread ourselves thin. We just want to double down on the demand. We find out what works and we just do more of what works, which is advertising best sellers. Because look, if let's say two fashion brands compete for the same audiences, one leads with the best sellers and the other one doesn't. The one who does will get more new customers by default because they advertise their best sellers, because that's where the demand is. That's what people want, right? So we simply advertise and double down on the best sellers because we know this is where the demand is. So if we advertise more people to it, we drive strangers and new traffic to it, they will buy too. So the more we advertise best sellers, the more the brand sells, right? And the more they sell, the more profit they make. Now, with the profit they're making from this, what they do is three things: buy more bestseller inventory, and then they also do this part too. Now, I'll first cover this. See, they can buy more bestseller inventory because they know for sure that the more they advertise, the more it will sell. So they know the bestseller inventory will move and not collect dust, right? It will not overstock, which is one of the biggest killers to cash flow for a fashion brand, right? They know this will move. And this gives confidence on the advertising side because they know that they can fulfill the demand. So they can advertise more aggressively. And by advertising more aggressively, the more they sell, the more profit they make, and they can buy more bestseller inventory, which allows them to fuel the advertising more. So it is a compounding strategy. The more you do this, the more it compounds and the more cash flow and profit you will make. Because look, you're just taking what works and you're just doing more of what works. So again, you de-risk yourself from overstocking because you know this bestseller inventory will move as long as you advertise. And you're more confident in scaling advertising because you know you can meet demand with this, right? And the more you sell, the more profit you make. Now, let's cover this part, the orange. So you can also take that profit and improve your bestsellers or expand off bestsellers. Now, improving bestsellers is very simple. It's just upping your product quality. Maybe it's getting a better fabric. Maybe it's getting better cuts, better fitting, et cetera, right? Whatever your customer wants that they want to see improved, this is what you do. And naturally, your demand and sales will go up as a result because your product quality increases. It's just naturally how things go, right? Now, next one is called expanding off bestsellers, which is an interesting one. So what do I mean by expanding off bestsellers? So it's basically just taking what works from your bestsellers and applying it to new products. For example, if you know that, let's say you're selling dresses, you know, okay, this cut, this fabric, these color, like let's say this cut, this fabric, this style works. Okay, I'll make 3 different colors of it. That's called expanding off your bestsellers, right? Because you're taking what works and you're just doing more of what works. Okay, white sells the best. Okay, what else can I release in white, for example, right? Now I'll use a Chanel example. So for example, Chanel, this N5, I'll call it N5, right? This is the original bestseller. They've been advertising this bestseller for over almost 100 years now. If you see one of their longest ad campaigns, they advertise this bestseller, which is what they do here, right? Hint, hint. Now, this is how they expand off of their bestsellers. They just make different versions of the N5 because look, they take what's working and they just apply it here. And each of them have slight differences. Like this is the hair mist, right? This is like different versions. Maybe some are more strong. Some have like different scents. Like I'm not a perfume expert, but just give me an example. Right, but the bottom line is they just take what's working and they just apply it to new products because people know this is their bestseller. So if they apply it to others, the customers will be like, oh, okay, like I know N5, right? This is their best one, so this one must be good too. So they buy it. Now, what else do? They also make mini versions of each of these. Again, expanding off the bestsellers because maybe customers, they want a smaller version. Maybe some of them want to carry this big version. Maybe like the travel, I don't know, right? But the point is they're expanding off the bestsellers. They're not going completely 180 to another different direction that has nothing to do with the bestsellers. They just take what works and they're just doing more of what works. Because one of the biggest mistakes I see fashion owners, founders make is once they're scaling, right? Let's say that they have something that's working and they're scaling and all the cash is coming in. They start to deviate away from what's actually driving sales and what's actually working. Like they just go completely 180, launching new collections or products that have nothing to do with their bestsellers. They take all this cash coming in, right? They take it, they try to make this big marketing launch party. They do paparazzi, influencer launch parties, right? Something crazy and glamorous to try to sell out the product. But in the end, it doesn't sell out. And what happens is the business growth stagnates because number one, they have all this dead inventory. They're overstocked, which is because their cash flow is very restricted. So they have to clear out all this dead inventory, which most likely means they have to run a sale, which which harms the brand. But usually most of them are forced to do it because they clear out stock, right? And during that period, the business growth is very, very stagnant, and that can cause the founder to lose confidence in themselves and question what the brand's about because they're like what's the brand about? Why didn't it work? Now they're like, it didn't meet their expectation. So it starts to become like a downward spiral, right? Which in turn affects the business as a whole, right? Better to not be in that position in the first place. And then they realize, okay, what has been working were XYZ products. I should just focus more on that, right? Then they learn the lesson. But what I'm saying is with the strategy, maybe you can avoid that. You can avoid that painful mistake entirely. And if you have gone through this, if you have gone through that mistake, then you know what I mean. So this simple strategy, the more you do it, the less stuff you do, the more profit you make because you just double down on what works, which is what the strategy is about, right? Again, so to summarize it, look, we advertise bestsellers because that's where the demand is. So if we know this as demand, we just double down on the demand because the more we advertise bestsellers, the more we will sell. We know this sells, so the more we advertise, the more it will sell. The more it sells, the more profit you make. And the more profit you make, take that profit to improve your bestsellers, expand off your bestsellers. You want to expand your products, right? Expand off bestsellers, not do something completely 180. Improve your bestsellers, which naturally drives your sales and demand up because of product quality. And you can confidently buy more bestseller inventory because you know the more you advertise, the more it will sell and it will move. And it gives you confidence on the advertising side. So you can scale it because you can meet demand. And the more you sell, the more you advertise, the more you sell, the more profit you make, the more you can buy. Boom, 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 boom. And it just compounds on itself. So this is the simple bestseller strategy that we use to scale fashion brands online and what we advise them to do. If you have any questions about the strategy, just leave it in the comments below this video and I can answer them as well. If you're interested in working with us, I recommend clicking the link in our bio to see more about how our offer and terms work. What exactly do we do? I think I have a pinned post that says how our no risk offer works. You can watch that too. And then if you're interested, just book a call. Either two options. You can either book a call directly with the link in our bio or just DM me if you need more info and then we can go from there.